So now, let's proceed to idealism. When we say idealism, philosophical doctrine, which holds the view that ideas own a reality. Hence, for idealists, there is no external reality, and that the world is consist of ideas. Material things do not really exist. This is because whatever that is mutable and destructible keeps on changing, and whatever what keeps on changing cannot be considered as real. According to this Greek philosopher whose name is Plato, any material object that exists in the world of matter is just a copy of the object that exists in the world of forms. For instance, a tree. For Plato, the tree that we experience in the world of matter is not real because it is mutable, destructible, and changeable.
Now let's proceed. Realism. What is realism? Realism comes from the Latin realis, who is to be really, really real. Realism refers to the things exist whether or not human minds perceives them. Aristotle was the leading proponent of realism and the first philosopher to develop a systematic theory of logic. In a more deeper meaning of realism, it is a philosophy that assumes that there is a real external world that can be recognized. So there is two famous realists. First is Aristotle, the ancient Greek philosopher. Aristotle is widely known as realist in believing that the real exists in the sensible world that can be known through sense of perception or observation. The second is Thomas Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas' philosophical realism rooted in Aristotelian thought, who says that our minds understand a reality that exists independently of our thoughts rather than creating it.
Pragmatism. Pragmatism is a philosophical approach that evaluates theories or beliefs in terms of success of the practical application. So, ang pragmatism kay gibuhat siya sa United States during 19th century. So, ang nagbuhat ani kay si Charles S. Percy and William James, then giusab ni John Dewey. Here the example of pragmatism.
Perennialism. Perennial means everlasting, based on philosophies of Plato, Aristotle, and St. Thomas Aquinas. Perennialism is an educational philosophy that emphasizes teaching timeless ideas, which means a teacher-centered approach. A teacher-centered philosophy in which it is the responsibility of the teacher to ensure that students gain cultural literacy and learn about the greatest achievement in the greater field. A classic example of perennialism is the Republic by Plato. The Republic by Plato is an example of perennialism because it focuses on timeless and universal truths about human nature, society, and education.
So now, let's proceed to existentialism. Okay, what is existentialism? Okay, when we say existentialism, it emphasizes the meaning of individual experience and the freedom of choice in the face of a lack predetermined human destiny or ultimate explanations for existence. In other words, it is also on how you are going to make decisions in your life. On the other hand, Søren Kierkegaard is generally considered to have been the first existentialist philosopher. Existentialist also has its different characteristics, and these are the freedom of choice, individual, creative, non-conformity, freedom to decide where when you are at college what NSTP you are going to choose, and SHS threat. And the last one is you should be responsible.
So now let's proceed social reconstructionism. Social reconstructionism is a philosophy that emphasizes society and worldwide democracy. So, social reconstructionism is an educational philosophy that aims to use education to create a better and more just society.
Rationalism. Rationalism is a logical and critical thinking philosophical view that emphasizes reason as the primary source and test of knowledge. Rationalists believe that reality has an inherent logical structure and that certain truths can be directly grasped by the intellect, independent of sensory experience. The rationalism established a foundation for knowledge based on rational principles, such as logic and mathematics, which are considered self-evident and fundamental. Descartes, a prominent rationalist philosopher, famously stated, "I think, therefore I am." This statement reflects the rationalist idea that one's existence can be known through self-reflection and reasoning. It is independent of sensory experiences. Rationalism finds a strong foundation in mathematics, where logical deductions and proofs are used to establish truths. Mathematical principles such as Pythagorean theorem or laws of logic are considered rationalist knowledge. Rationalism emphasizes that some truths are accessible through intellectual insight alone. Behaviorism. Behaviorism is a theory in psychology that posits all behaviors are acquired through conditioning, which occurs via interaction with the environment. It is established by John B. Watson in 1913. Behaviorists believe that our actions are shaped by environmental stimuli. Complementing good behavior is an example of behaviorism. Encourages the repetition of desirable behaviors. For instance, when a teacher praises a student for completing homework on time, it increases the likelihood that the student will continue this behavior. This technique is used to shape and reinforce positive actions.
Progressivism. The progress educational philosophy emphasizes the development of the whole child's physical, emotional, and intellect. Ang pagkat-on kay gabay sa individual nga panginahanglan nga obligasyon ug interes sa mga estudyante nga marasigon sa pagkat-on.
Utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is a moral theory that suggests actions are right if they promote happiness, and it is wrong if they cause harm. It emphasizes the greatest good for the greatest number of people. It is used to guide social, economic, and political decisions. This theory is focused on achieving the most benefit for the majority, even though it has limitations such as not accounting for emotions, justice, or individual rights. The aim of utilitarianism is to create the most happiness and reduce harm for the largest number of people. An example of utilitarianism is organ donation. Organ donation is supported by utilitarianism because it can save multiple lives, benefiting more people overall by using the organs of a deceased person to help those in need.
Essentialism. Essentialism is its broad sense is any philosophy that acknowledges the primacy of sense. Unlike essentialism, which posits being as the fundamental reality, the essentialist ontology must be approached from a metaphysical perspective. Ang essentialism ay isang pananaw o paniniwala na may mga pangunahing katangian at hindi maaaring maiwasan ng isang bagay upang ito ay maging ang kanyang sarili. Ang essentialism na ay laing-laing mga disiplina. Usa na ang philosophy, ikaduha ang metaphysical, ug ikatulo ang epistemology. This is the example of essentialism. Hedonism. Hedonism as a theory of value. Hedonism states that all and only pleasure is intrinsically valuable and all and only pain is intrinsically not valuable. Hedonists usually define pleasure and pain broadly such that both physical and mental phenomena are included. Ang hedonism ay isang teorya ng filosofi at etika na nagpapahiwatig na ang paghahanap ng kasiyahan at pag-iwas sa sakit ay ang pinakamahalagang layunin ng buhay ng tao. This is the example of hedonism.